Welcome to Fact Finder, your passport to a voyage of historical revelations. Today, we're embarking on an extraordinary journey deep into the annals of history, where the Titanic's harrowing secrets lie hidden. Beyond the chilling iceberg and the tragic sinking, brace yourselves for tales that will truly astonish and leave you in sheer awe. So, fasten your seatbelts as we unveil the untold stories of this monumental disaster. Brief overview: while the Titanic is famous for its tragic sinking, there's a treasure trove of secrets lurking below the surface. Get ready to dive deep as we uncover 20 astonishing Titanic facts that might just blow your mind. We're talking untold stories, surprising statistics, and shocking figures that will redefine how you see this historic disaster. So hold on tight, because our Titanic journey is about to set sail. The iceberg, an atmospheric twist of fate. Iceberg's formation. Imagine this: the colossal iceberg that sealed the Titanic's fate wasn't just your average ice cube. It was a product of nature's cruel coincidences. 4 years before the Titanic set sail, something extraordinary happened. Picture glaciers in a warm, humid weather spell. They became waterlogged and lost their icy grip. This specific iceberg, which would later become the Titanic's nemesis, weighed a whopping 2 megatons, equivalent to about 40 elephants or a small moon. It was a true behemoth, and the Titanic had no chance against this icy giant. When it hit the ship, it tore a hole that stretched 100 meters long, as if the ship's hull was made of paper. The rest, as they say, is history. Who could have known that Mother Nature had such a twisted sense of humor? Mirage, a cruel illusion now. Picture this: a mirage, an optical illusion, playing a part in the Titanic's downfall. Yes, you heard it right. Atmospheric conditions that night were ideal for a phenomenon known as super-refraction. This peculiar term means that light can bend in strange ways, causing mirages. It's like when you see a shimmering pool of water on a scorching road, only this time it was in the icy North Atlantic. Several ships in the area spotted this mirage, but no one understood the danger it posed. Both the nearby cargo ship Californian and the Titanic failed to spot the iceberg in time. Why? The air that night was all mixed up. Layers of cold air were sandwiched between warmer ones, creating a false horizon. This made everything appear different from what it really was. So, when the Titanic fired distress signal rockets, they appeared much lower due to this mirage. When the Californians saw these rockets, they assumed they were just some regular company signals and didn't bother to come to the Titanic's aid. The air was atmospherically unstable that night, and it played a cruel trick, making the iceberg invisible until it was too late. Supermoon's influence. Now let's talk about the supermoon's influence. Picture this: a moon coming as close to Earth as possible. This astronomical event happened on January 4, 1912, and the Titanic met its tragic end on April 15 of the same year, just a few months later. So what's the connection? Well, scientists believe that this supermoon caused an unusually high tide, strong enough to carry that massive iceberg all the way from Greenland into the Titanic's path. Normally, icebergs like the one that struck the Titanic should have melted before reaching these waters, but the supermoon's tide was so strong that it hindered the iceberg's melting. It was an unexpected twist of fate. The Titanic's experienced captain, Edward John Smith, likely never expected to find such a massive iceberg drifting so far south. It's like he was facing the ultimate cosmic challenge. So, when you hear about the Titanic, remember that it wasn't just about navigation or bad luck. It was about the strange ways of nature and the universe itself playing a part in this historic tragedy. Inadequate lifeboats. Here's a mind-boggling fact. The Titanic, the majestic ship of dreams, carried a mere 20 lifeboats. That's nowhere near enough for over 2,200 souls on board. This shocking decision was driven by a strange prioritization of luxury over safety. The ship's owners believed that having too many lifeboats would clutter the deck, spoiling the panoramic view for those precious first-class passengers. Yes, you heard that right. They chose aesthetics over lives. The ship's safety regulations at the time were also woefully outdated. They firmly believed that this number of lifeboats would suffice because the Titanic was proclaimed unsinkable. The tragic irony here is that the Titanic sank in just 20 minutes, a cruel contrast to their overconfidence. It became a chilling reminder of human arrogance, a painful lesson learned at a terrible cost. Lifeboat drills canceled, but wait, there's more to this tragic tale. On the very day of the disaster, when preparations for the worst should have been in full swing, lifeboat drills were canceled. Who made this shocking decision? None other than Captain Edward John Smith himself. The reasons behind this remain shrouded in mystery, but some sources suggest that it was because it was a Sunday, the last day of the Titanic's journey. Captain Smith may have wanted to hold a final Sunday service on the ship before his retirement, which sounds noble. However, there were reports of drifting ice in the area that day, southeast of the Canadian island of Newfoundland. The crew of other ships successfully navigated through these icy waters, heeding the warnings, but why did the captain of the Titanic cancel the only thing that could have prepared everyone for an emergency? It's akin to ignoring the safety demonstration on an airplane before takeoff. Unfortunately for the crew and passengers of the Titanic, luck turned away from them that night. Perhaps, if the lifeboat drills had taken place, it would have given someone a chance for survival. Engineer sacrifice. Now let's shine a spotlight on some true heroes of the Titanic disaster, the ship's engineers. These were the unsung heroes who worked tirelessly below decks in the inferno of the engine room to keep the ship's lights on until the very end. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, these brave souls didn't abandon their posts. They knew that without the power of the steam engines, the Titanic was as helpless as a submarine with an open hatch. Even as the Titanic broke apart and chaos reigned above, the engineers persevered. The lights on the ship did not go out until its very last moments. These engineers sacrificed their lives to give others a fighting chance. Their heroic efforts allowed the Titanic to continue sending distress signals, a lifeline for those in need, before it met its final resting place on the ocean floor. Binoculars inaccessibility now. Here's a truly haunting what if. What if binoculars could have prevented this tragedy? It turns out that the Titanic did have binoculars on board, but they were not just unused. They were inaccessible. Why? Because of a missing key. Imagine those binoculars might have allowed someone to spot the iceberg sooner, giving the ship more time to change course and avoid disaster. It's a small but significant detail that could have changed the course of history. Sadly, it wasn't to be, and the crew remained blind to the impending danger. Captain's risky decision now. Let's delve into the mystery of Captain Smith's decisions on that fateful night. Captain Smith chose to forgo lifeboat drills and ignore iceberg warnings, and the reasons behind these decisions remain puzzling. Could it have been because it was a Sunday, the last day of the Titanic's journey? Some reports suggest that Captain Smith might have preferred to hold a final Sunday service on the ship before his retirement. While this might sound noble, it raises questions. On that very day, there were reports of drifting ice in the area southeast of the Canadian island of Newfoundland. Why did the captain cancel the only thing that could have prepared everyone for an emergency? It's a decision that leaves us with a haunting question. Could a Sunday service have played a part in this tragedy? Californians in action now. Let's uncover a heartbreaking chapter in the Titanic story. The inaction of the nearby ship, the Californian. This vessel was in a position to potentially save lives, but tragically, it didn't respond to the Titanic's distress signals. Why? It was a colossal misunderstanding, a cruel twist of fate fueled by miscommunication. Imagine this scene on the night of the disaster. As the Titanic sent out distress rockets into the dark, icy night, the crew of the Californian saw these signals. They knew something was amiss. But here's the tragic part: the officers on the Californian didn't realize the gravity of the situation. Instead of rushing to the Titanic's aid, they waved off the signals, thinking they were simply company signals. It was a moment when help was close, yet impossibly far. The real horror emerged when another ship, the Carpathia, finally arrived to rescue the survivors. By then, the Californian had only just begun to respond. Imagine the frustration and disbelief of the Titanic's passengers and crew when they saw another ship on the horizon, but realized it was too late. The Californian's failure to act promptly remains a haunting reminder of how misunderstanding and miscommunication can have dire consequences. This tragic episode adds another layer of sorrow to the Titanic's already heartbreaking tale. Titanic's ongoing decay. Now, let's journey to the present day and explore a sobering fact: the Titanic is decaying faster than we ever imagined. The once grand ship, resting deep under the Atlantic's icy waters, is facing a relentless enemy, and it's not what you might expect. Microscopic culprits, in the form of metal-eating bacteria and the harsh effects of salt corrosion, are turning this historic vessel into something quite different. The ship's iron structure is deteriorating at an alarming rate, faster than an ice cube melting in the Sahara Desert. Here's the startling prediction: by the year 2030, the Titanic might be unrecognizable. These microscopic organisms are creating rust formations that eerily resemble stalactites in a cave. The ship is literally destroying itself from the inside out. It's a race against time to preserve this iconic piece of history, and every day it seems the Titanic's once majestic form slips further into the annals of history, reminding us of the impermanence of even the mightiest of human creations. Tales of construction deaths. Before the Titanic's ill-fated voyage even began, a dark cloud of tragedy loomed over its construction. Shockingly, 8 workers lost their lives during its construction. While building this colossal ship, many accidents marred the process. Imagine the scale and complexity of constructing a ship of this magnitude. It cost a staggering £1.5 million at the time. For every £100,000 spent, there was a calculated risk of 1 life lost. That means an estimated 15 deaths were cynically expected. These workers paid a grim price for their labor, and their stories serve as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made to bring the Titanic to life. Pets on board. Now, let's uncover a heartwarming but bittersweet detail: pets were on board the Titanic. Some of these furry companions survived the disaster, but many did not. Among the passengers was the ship's captain, who brought his beloved Russian wolfhound with him. And then there was the millionaire writer and inventor John Jacob Astor, who had his loyal dog, Kitty, with him. Unfortunately, like many others, their pets did not make it. It's a reminder that the Titanic carried not only people's dreams, but also their cherished animal companions, who shared in the tragedy. Human toll uncertainty. Finally, as we delve deeper into the Titanic's history, we confront a sobering truth to this day: we don't know the exact number of casualties. The official death toll is estimated to be around 1,514 lives lost. But here's the unsettling reality: many bodies remain lost to the ocean's depths. Recovery efforts were challenging, and identifying individuals, especially those traveling under fictitious names, was a daunting task. The chaos and horror of the catastrophe made compiling accurate lists of survivors a difficult endeavor. There's an unsettling uncertainty surrounding the true human toll of the Titanic, and this uncertainty adds an even more profound layer of tragedy to this already haunting story. In the aftermath of the Titanic disaster, a disturbing chapter unfolded. One passenger, Masabumi Hosono, faced unimaginable persecution for the simple act of surviving. Instead of receiving the sympathy one might expect for surviving such a catastrophe, he was labeled a coward. The public castigated him, and he bore the weight of shame for the rest of his life. Hosono's story serves as a stark reminder of how public perception and societal pressures can turn a survivor into a scapegoat. It's a chilling tale of the cruelty that can be inflicted on those who endure the unimaginable. Forgotten heroes amidst the tragedy of the Titanic, there were unsung heroes who worked tirelessly to keep the ship's lights on until the very end. These engineers, often forgotten in the Titanic narrative, paid the ultimate price for their dedication. Their actions allowed the Titanic to continue sending distress signals until the last moments. Yet, their sacrifices went largely unrecognized. Their unwavering commitment to preserving power in the direst of circumstances ensured that some passengers had a fighting chance for survival. Their story reminds us that heroism can be found even in the most dire situations, and sometimes it's the quiet, selfless acts that make the most significant difference. As we conclude this voyage into the depths of the Titanic's hidden history, we're left with a profound sense of awe and sadness. The Titanic story is far more complex and tragic than we could have ever imagined. It's not just a tale of an iceberg and a sinking ship. It's a testament to the resilience and sacrifice of those who were on board. If, like us, you found these Titanic secrets as fascinating as they are heartbreaking, we encourage you to take action. Give this video a thumbs up to show your appreciation for the untold stories we've shared. Subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our future explorations into history's hidden corners. And most importantly, share your thoughts on these untold stories in the comments below. We believe that by discussing and remembering these stories, we honor the memory of those who were part of this tragic chapter in history. In closing, we want to express our gratitude for joining us on this extraordinary journey through Titanic's hidden history. It's been a privilege to uncover these untold stories with you. Until our next adventure together, we encourage you to stay curious, keep exploring, and never forget the lessons and stories that history has to offer. Thank you for being a part of our Fact Finder community. Thank you for diving into the hidden history of the Titanic with us. Don't forget to explore more intriguing stories on our channel by clicking on our logo. Stay curious and keep discovering